Every morning she inspects me like I'm livestock at a county fair. Arms 4 out of 10, stomach 2 out of 10, face looking particularly rough today, 1 out of 10. She keeps detailed charts and discusses my problem areas with her mother. I'm 29 and I've been married to Sarah for 3 years. I thought I knew what love looked like, but now I'm questioning everything. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but I need to get this off my chest because it's eating me alive. It started small, like these things always do. Sarah would make little comments about my appearance. Your face looks puffy today, or have you been working out? Your arms look softer. I brushed it off because, honestly, I wasn't in the best shape. I'd gained maybe 15 pounds since we got married and I figured she was just trying to motivate me. But then came the notebook. About 6 months ago, Sarah bought this little black spiral notebook from the dollar store. She told me she wanted to help me track my progress and be more accountable with my health. Sweet, right? Except her version of tracking progress involves me standing naked in our bedroom every single morning while she examines me like I'm a science experiment. Arms up, she'll say, pen poised over the notebook. Turn around. Okay, stomach is definitely worse today, that's a 3. Yesterday was a 4, so we're moving backward. She writes it all down in neat little columns. Date, body part, score out of 10, notes. The notes are the worst part. Noticeable back fat rolls when bending. Chest hair growing and patchy, unsightly. Face bloated, possibly from late-night snacking. She reads them back to me like a teacher reviewing a failed test. I tried talking to her about it once, about a month in. I said maybe we could find a different way to stay motivated, something that felt more supportive. She looked at me like I was being ridiculous. This is support, she said. I'm helping you see what you can't see. Would you rather I just let you get worse and worse until I'm not attracted to you anymore? The way she said it made my stomach drop. Like my worth as a husband was directly tied to whether my abs were visible or not. But here's where it gets really weird. She started showing the notebook to people. Her mom was the first. I came home from work one day and found them huddled over the kitchen table with the notebook spread out between them like battle plans. Oh good, you're home. Sarah's mom said brightly. We were just looking at your progress charts. Sarah's doing such a good job helping you improve. I stood there in the doorway, still holding my work bag, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. They were discussing my body like I wasn't even a person. Like I was their project. His shoulders have really improved, Sarah was saying, pointing to a graph she'd drawn. But his midsection is still problematic. We might need to adjust his diet again. His midsection. His diet. Like I wasn't standing right there. Sarah's mom nodded seriously. Have you considered portion control plates? My neighbor used them and lost 30 pounds. Though honestly, Sarah, you're being so patient. Most women wouldn't put up with letting their husband go like this. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. I just walked upstairs and sat on our bed, staring at the wall where Sarah had taped up a before photo of me from our honeymoon. I looked happy in that picture. Relaxed. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt that way. The daily inspections got more detailed after that. Sarah started taking measurements with a tape measure, recording them in the notebook alongside the visual scores. She bought a body fat calculator online and started testing my problem areas with calipers she ordered from some fitness website. This is all about health, she'd remind me when I'd flinch during the pinching. I love you too much to watch you destroy yourself. But I wasn't destroying myself. I was maybe 20 pounds heavier than when we met, but I wasn't obese or unhealthy. I was just normal. A normal guy in his late 20s who didn't have the metabolism of a teenager anymore. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago. I woke up feeling sick, just a regular cold, nothing serious. My face was congested and puffy, my nose was red from blowing it all night. I looked like hell, but I felt even worse. Sarah took one look at me and got out the notebook. Oh no, she said, shaking her head. This is really bad. Face is definitely a 1 today. Maybe a 0. She started writing. Skin is blotchy, eyes are swollen, overall very unattractive. I was sick. I was lying in bed with a fever and she was grading my appearance like I was auditioning for a movie role. Can we skip today? I asked, my voice hoarse. I don't feel good. That's exactly why we can't skip, she said, still writing. We need to track everything, including setbacks. How else will you learn? Learn what? That I look bad when I'm sick? That my worth as a human being fluctuates based on how symmetrical my face looks on any given morning? I started avoiding mirrors after that. I'd shower with my eyes closed, get dressed in the dark. But I couldn't avoid the morning inspections. Sarah would get upset if I tried to skip them, accusing me of giving up on myself and not caring about our marriage. The worst part was how she'd gotten her whole family involved. Her sister would ask about my progress at family dinners. Her dad would pat my stomach and joke about how Sarah was whipping me into shape. Even her teenage nephew started making comments about how I used to be fatter. I felt like I was disappearing. Not physically, ironically, I'd actually lost some weight from the stress and loss of appetite. But emotionally, mentally, I was just gone. I was turning into this hollow version of myself that existed only to be measured and found wanting. 3 nights ago, I found Sarah showing the notebook to her book club. 6 women sitting in our living room, passing around detailed charts of my body measurements and discussing my journey like I was some kind of inspiring weight loss commercial. The key is consistency, Sarah was explaining. You have to be honest with them even when it hurts their feelings. Men don't see themselves clearly. One of the other women laughed. I should try this with my husband. His beer belly is getting ridiculous. Sarah's method really works, another one added. Look at these shoulder measurements, definite improvement. I backed away from the doorway and went upstairs. I sat on our bed and looked at that honeymoon photo again. The guy in that picture looked confident. Happy. Loved for who he was, not graded on how well he met some arbitrary standard. I realized I couldn't remember the last time Sarah had complimented me without it being relative to my previous scores. Your arms look better than last week. Your face isn't as puffy as yesterday. Everything was comparative, conditional. Nothing was just good enough as it was. That night, after her book club left, I tried to talk to her again. I told her how the daily inspections made me feel, how being discussed like a project was humiliating, how I was starting to hate my own body because I was seeing it through her critical eyes every single day. She listened with this patient expression like I was a child having a tantrum. When I finished, she sighed and closed the notebook. I think you're being oversensitive, she said. This is what marriage looks like, helping each other improve. If you can't handle constructive feedback, how are we supposed to grow together? Constructive feedback. That's what she called it. I'm writing this at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep. Tomorrow morning, Sarah will wake up and get out that notebook and I'll have to stand there while she grades my body like a piece of meat. She'll write down her observations and probably share them with someone, her mom, her sister, whoever's willing to participate in this weird performance where my self-worth gets dissected over coffee. I keep thinking about that honeymoon photo. About the man I used to be who felt comfortable in his own skin. Who didn't flinch when his wife touched him because he wasn't sure if she was checking for improvements or looking for new problems to note down. I don't know if this is normal. I don't know if other husbands go through this. But I know it's killing something inside me, piece by piece, score by score. Is this what love looks like? Because if it is, I don't think I understand love at all anymore. Update 1. Holy shit, you guys. I wasn't expecting this response. My phone has been buzzing all day with notifications and honestly, reading your comments has been like waking up from a really long, really fucked up dream. I want to address a few things first. Some of you asked if this is real. I wish it wasn't. Some of you said I should have stood up for myself sooner. You're absolutely right, but when you're living it day by day, it's hard to see how twisted it's become. It's like that frog in boiling water thing. The temperature rises so gradually that you don't realize you're being cooked alive. A lot of you used the word abuse, and I've been sitting with that all day. I think I knew deep down, but admitting it feels huge. I kept telling myself it was just Sarah being controlling or perfectionist, but you're right, this is emotional abuse. Systematic humiliation designed to break down my self-esteem. The fact that she's turned it into entertainment for her family and friends makes it even worse. So here's what happened after I posted this. Yesterday morning, I couldn't do it. When Sarah got out the notebook and told me to get undressed for inspection, I just couldn't. I sat on the edge of the bed and said, no. Not today. She looked confused like I'd just spoken a foreign language. What do you mean, no? I mean, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not standing here while you grade my body like I'm livestock. Her face changed. The confused look turned into something cold and angry. So you're just giving up? You're just going to let yourself go completely? I'm not letting myself go. I'm a normal person with a normal body and I don't need daily inspections to prove my worth. That's when she really lost it. She started yelling about how ungrateful I was, how she'd been sacrificing her time and energy to help me improve, how selfish I was being. She said if I didn't care about being attractive for her, then I must not care about our marriage. Fine, she said, slamming the notebook shut. But don't come crying to me when you gain 50 pounds and wonder why I'm not interested in you anymore. She left for work without saying goodbye and I spent the day feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. Part of me wondered if she was right, if I was being ungrateful or oversensitive. But then I remembered all your comments and I realized that's exactly what abusers do, they make you question your own reality. When she came home that evening, she acted like nothing had happened. She was sweet and affectionate, making my favorite dinner and talking about her day like we hadn't had a massive fight that morning. But then, as we were getting ready for bed, she casually mentioned that she'd adjusted her approach. I realized I might have been too harsh, she said, pulling out a different notebook, this one pink with little flowers on it. So I made some changes to be more positive. I felt my stomach drop. She created a whole new system. Instead of just noting problems, she was now giving me improvement goals and rewards for progress. Gold stars for days when I scored above a 5 overall. Smiley faces when I met her daily challenges. It was still the same thing, daily body inspections and judgment, just wrapped in prettier packaging. Like putting lipstick on a pig. See, she said, showing me the first page where she'd written Sarah's husband improvement journal, now with more encouragement, in cheerful bubble letters. This way you'll feel motivated instead of criticized. I stared at that fucking notebook and felt something break inside me. She hadn't heard anything I'd said. She didn't understand that the problem wasn't the tone or the delivery, it was the entire concept that my body was hers to evaluate and improve. I can't do this, Sarah, I said quietly. This isn't normal. This isn't what marriage should look like. Her face hardened again. What's not normal is a husband who doesn't want to improve himself for his wife. What's not normal is giving up on your health and appearance just because your feelings got hurt. We slept on opposite sides of the bed that night, the pink notebook sitting on her nightstand like a loaded gun. This morning, she tried again. Gentler this time, but still with the notebook. Come on, honey, she said. Just let me take some measurements. I promise I'll be more positive. I got dressed and left the house. I'm writing this from my car in the parking lot of a 24-hour diner, trying to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do next. I called my brother Mike this afternoon. I haven't talked to him much since the wedding because Sarah always found reasons why we couldn't visit or why he couldn't come over. Now I'm realizing that was probably intentional. Abusers isolate their victims from support systems. Mike was quiet for a long time after I told him everything. Finally, he said, Jesus Christ, man. How long has this been going on? When I told him about the notebook, the daily inspections, the family involvement, he got angry. Really angry. Not at me, but for me. That's not love, brother, he said. That's not even close to love. That's some sick control bullshit and you need to get out of there. He offered to let me stay with him for a while, and honestly, I'm considering it. I need space to think, to remember who I am without someone constantly telling me I'm not good enough. But I'm scared. What if she's right? What if I really have let myself go and this is just tough love? What if leaving means I'm weak or ungrateful? I keep going back to your comments though. Especially the ones from people who've been through similar situations. You reminded me that partners are supposed to love you as you are, not constantly work to change you into someone else. I'm going to stay at Mike's tonight. Sarah's been texting me all afternoon, alternating between apologies and accusations. First, she's sorry for being too direct with her feedback, then she's angry that I'm abandoning our marriage over something so small. Something so small. That's what she calls systematically destroying my self-esteem for 6 months. I don't know what happens next, but I know I can't go back to those morning inspections. I can't go back to being graded like a science project or discussed like a rehabilitation case at her book club. For the first time in months, I looked in a bathroom mirror today without immediately cataloging everything wrong with my reflection. I just saw me. A normal guy who's been through hell but is still standing. Maybe that's worth something after all. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and honestly, I don't even recognize my life anymore. In the best possible way. I've been staying with my brother Mike, and it's been like detox from a drug I didn't realize I was addicted to. The drug of constantly seeking approval, of measuring my worth by someone else's arbitrary standards, of walking on eggshells to avoid criticism. The first few days were brutal. I kept catching myself checking mirrors obsessively, looking for the flaws Sarah would have pointed out. I'd wake up expecting to be inspected and graded, and when it didn't happen, I felt this weird anxiety. It's fucked up how quickly you can become dependent on abuse when it's disguised as care. Mike has been incredible. He didn't push me to talk when I wasn't ready, but he was there when I needed to process everything. One night, about a week in, I broke down completely. All the shame and humiliation I'd been carrying just poured out of me. She made me feel like I was disgusting, I told him through tears. Like I was this project that would never be good enough, no matter how hard I tried. Mike just listened. When I finished, he said something that stuck with me: the right person doesn't try to fix you, man. They love you and want to grow with you. There's a difference. Sarah has been relentless with the contact attempts. Calls, texts, emails, showing up at my work. The messages have been a roller coaster, sometimes apologetic, sometimes angry, sometimes trying to make me feel guilty for abandoning her. Some highlights from her greatest hits. I was only trying to help you be the best version of yourself. Why are you punishing me for caring? Your brother is poisoning you against me. He's always been jealous of our relationship. Fine, be fat and ugly. See if I care? But don't come crawling back when you realize what you've lost. I'm willing to forgive you for overreacting if you come home tonight. We can start fresh. That last one came with photos. She'd thrown away the notebooks and bought me a gym membership as a peace offering. She didn't get it at all. The problem was never the notebooks themselves, it was the entire mindset that my body was hers to judge and improve. I finally blocked her number yesterday after she sent me a 2,000-word email detailing all the ways I was destroying our marriage over nothing and how I was too sensitive to handle a wife who cares about my health. But here's the thing that's been blowing my mind. I've been rediscovering who I am without constant criticism. Mike and I have been going to this local diner for breakfast a few times a week, and I've been eating without guilt for the first time in months. Not binge eating or stress eating, just normal eating. Enjoying food without someone analyzing my choices. I've been sleeping better too. No more lying awake dreading the morning inspection, no more anxiety dreams about failing some body test I didn't know was coming. Last weekend, Mike convinced me to go to his buddy's barbecue. I was nervous about meeting new people. Sarah had made me so self-conscious about my appearance that I'd started avoiding social situations. But everyone was just normal. Regular people with regular bodies, having fun and not grading each other's stomachs or arm definition. I talked to this guy Dave who's been married for 15 years. He's got a dad bod and his wife clearly adores him. They were playful and affectionate with each other, and at one point she grabbed his belly and joked about his beer gut, but it was playful, loving. There was no notebook, no scoring system, no discussion with other people about his problem areas. That's when it really hit me how fucked up my situation had been. Normal couples might tease each other about physical changes, but they don't systematically document and grade each other's bodies. They don't turn their partner's appearance into a group project. I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do next. Mike says I can stay as long as I need, but I know I can't hide out here forever. I need to figure out my next steps. I talked to a guy who helps people with divorce proceedings. Not because I've made any final decisions, but because I needed to understand my options. He asked me a question that really stuck. If your best friend told you his wife was doing this to him, what would you tell him to do? The answer was immediate and obvious. I'd tell him to run. So why was it so hard to apply that same logic to my own situation? I think it's because Sarah was really good at making me believe this was normal, even loving. She had me convinced that her obsession with improving me was evidence of how much she cared. But love doesn't require daily proof of worthiness. Love doesn't come with scorecards and family discussions about your inadequacies. I've started working out again, but for completely different reasons. Not because someone is grading my progress or timing my improvements, but because it feels good to move my body and get stronger. The difference in motivation is night and day. Yesterday, I did something I hadn't done in months. I bought clothes that I actually liked, not clothes designed to hide the problem areas Sarah had identified. I got a shirt that fits well and makes me feel confident, and I wore it all day without once worrying about whether someone would approve of how I looked in it. Small steps, but they feel huge. I'm not sure what happens next with Sarah and our marriage. Part of me keeps hoping she'll realize how damaging her behavior was and genuinely change. But the rational part of me knows that someone who spent 6 months systematically tearing down my self-esteem and then doubled down when confronted probably isn't capable of the kind of deep change that would be required. Mike keeps reminding me that I deserve better. Not perfect, not some fantasy relationship, but basic respect and acceptance from my partner. The kind of love that doesn't come with conditions and scoring systems. For now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my relationship with myself. Learning to see my body as something that belongs to me, not something that exists for someone else's evaluation. Remembering that my worth isn't determined by whether my stomach is flat or my arms are defined. It's weird, but I feel like I'm meeting myself again for the first time in months. And you know what? I'm not that bad. I'm just a regular guy with a regular body who deserves to be loved without having to earn it through daily performance reviews. That's got to be worth something. Final update. I'm writing this 6 months later and my life is completely different now. I wanted to give you all a final update because your support literally saved me from what I now recognize was a deeply abusive situation. I never went back to Sarah. About a month after my last update, she escalated her attempts to get me to come home. She started showing up at my work, calling my family members, even contacting some of my old friends to tell them I was having a mental breakdown and needed help. She told people I was brainwashed by my brother and that she was fighting for our marriage. It was my coworker Jenny who finally opened my eyes to how manipulative this was. Sarah had cornered her in the parking lot after work, crying and begging her to convince me to get help and come home. She kept talking about how much effort she'd put into improving you, Jenny told me later. It was really weird, like you were her project instead of her husband. And she kept saying you'd been perfect when she first started helping you, but now you were ruining everything by being stubborn. Hearing it through someone else's perspective was jarring. Sarah genuinely believed she had been helping me, that her daily inspections and grading system were acts of love. In her mind, I was the problem for rejecting her help. That's when I knew there was no going back. You can't build a healthy relationship with someone who fundamentally sees you as a fixer-upper project rather than a complete person worthy of love. I filed for divorce 3 months ago. Sarah contested it, of course, and tried to paint me as unstable and ungrateful. Her lawyer argued that I had abandoned the marriage over minor marital disputes about health and fitness. But I had documentation. Screenshots of her texts, photos of the notebooks Mike had taken, pictures when I first showed them to him, and testimony from people who had witnessed her behavior. My lawyer said it was one of the clearest cases of emotional abuse he'd seen disguised as concern. The divorce was finalized last month. Sarah fought for alimony, claiming she had invested significant time and energy into improving our marriage and my well-being. Thankfully, the judge didn't buy it. I'm living in my own place now, nothing fancy, just a 1-bedroom apartment near Mike's house. But it's mine, and more importantly, it's a space where I'm never judged or graded or found wanting. I've been dating someone new for about 2 months now. Her name is Lisa, and she's normal. Wonderfully, beautifully normal. She likes how I look, tells me I'm handsome, and has never once suggested I need improvement or offered to help me reach my potential. The first time she saw me without a shirt, I instinctively tensed up, waiting for the evaluation. Instead, she smiled and said, "You're so sexy," and that was it. No scoring, no note-taking, no suggestions for enhancement. Just acceptance and attraction. I actually cried that night, not from sadness, but from relief. I had forgotten what it felt like to be desired as I am, not as I could become with enough work and improvement. Lisa knows about Sarah and what I went through. She was horrified when I told her about the daily inspections and the notebook system. "That's not love," she said, echoing what so many of you had commented months ago. "That's psychological torture." She's helped me rebuild my relationship with my own body. Not through criticism or improvement plans, but through consistent, unconditional acceptance. When I catch myself being critical of my appearance, she gently reminds me that I'm seeing myself through Sarah's eyes, not reality. I've gained some weight since leaving Sarah, actually. Not from depression or giving up, but from finally eating without anxiety and guilt. I'm probably 15 pounds heavier than when I was being daily inspected, and I feel better than I have in years. Turns out, constantly stressing about your body and restricting food based on someone else's judgments isn't great for your overall health. I work out when I want to, eat what I enjoy in reasonable portions, and wear clothes that make me feel good. Revolutionary concepts, right? The most important thing I've learned is that love doesn't require improvement. Real love accepts you as you are while supporting your growth, but growth you choose, not growth imposed on you by someone else's standards. I think about that guy from my original post sometimes, the one standing naked in his bedroom every morning, being graded like livestock. I feel sorry for him, but I'm also proud of him for finally saying no. It took longer than it should have, but he got there. If you're reading this and seeing yourself in my story, please know that you deserve better. You deserve to be loved without conditions, accepted without improvements, desired without modifications. Your worth isn't determined by someone else's scoring system, no matter how much they claim to love you. Love doesn't come with spreadsheets and daily evaluations. Love doesn't require you to stand for inspection or earn your place in someone's heart through physical improvements. Real love looks at you on your worst day, bloated, tired, imperfect, and still sees someone worth cherishing. You deserve that kind of love. Don't settle for anything less. Thank you all for saving my life. I mean that literally. Your comments gave me the courage to leave a situation that was slowly destroying my soul. I'm happier now than I've been in years, and I have you internet strangers to thank for it. Sometimes the kindness of strangers can change everything.